Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell, for your in-depth November horoscope video for the Sun or the Ascendant. Before I begin, I'd like to briefly tell you about my year 2021 personal horoscope special package. This gives you a forecast and a character analysis. But also if you order now in 2020, I'll give you the rest of this year free. Get 30% off this package based on your time, date and place of birth. It's totally individual to you and will give you searing insights into what you can expect in the months ahead. Please see beneath this video to click on the link to order. Hello Capricorn and welcome to your monthly horoscope for November for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to this channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. This month begins with the Sun in the part of your horoscope to do with your future, your friendships, how you network with others. And you know there's going to be a glorious link between Jupiter in your sign, the planet of growth, and in traditional astrology of fortune with the Sun, which goes from the 8th through to the 19th. So this gives you a great opportunity, particularly as it links into the new moon in Scorpio of the 15th, to feel more expansive, to feel more optimistic in, let's face it, what has been such a bruising year for many of us. Now, there are some complications along the way. There always is in astrology, and I'm going to try to navigate my way through the month in order that you can have the information to guide your moves. So the Sun generally is positive for you, particularly through to the 20th. Then it does move into a more sheltered location, which is more about reflection and sincerity. But on the first couple of days of the month, the Sun is opposed by Uranus. Uranus is a rather restless influence, and if you think back to the middle of May 18 to the middle of November 18, from the 7th of March 19 through till now, I feel that when it comes to your creativity or your love life, if you're not feeling very fulfilled, that can be an area that you may either want to change or have been thinking about changing or have been reviewing or trying some new approaches, because Uranus is about being fresh, it is about being more experimental. Now, because these two come into an opposition, this could mean that maybe there's going to be a surprise offer to go out with a group of friends or a surprise proposal of a date. Or it could be that someone needs a bit more space. That person could be you, it could be someone close to you. Now, of course, Mercury, the planet of communication, is in retrograde as this month begins. Fortunately, it goes direct on the 2nd. Also, Venus is in the same sector as Mercury, the sign of Libra, which for you is about success. It's about your responsibilities and obligations. It has a kind of Capricornian energy, this part of your scope, and it's an area that you can often thrive in because of that. But it is true that Mercury is challenged by your ruling planet of Saturn in the first 10 days of this month. So even though Mercury goes forwards, if you're moving forwards on an idea to apply for a job, start your own business, or looking to modify your approach around employment or any kind of worldly interaction, there could be something that happens in the first 10 days of this month which slows you down and creates a degree of frustration. Maybe you're going to encounter somebody who is not really understanding the patience and the fortitude that you've invested. I've mentioned this to you before. You can be so committed to things for the longer term. And if someone isn't quite getting it, and you've poured all that devotion and dedication in, that could be something that sticks in your craw a little bit. However, Venus, up until the 8th, is actually really helpful to you, and your diplomacy skills can help you to get ahead and counteract that more restrictive energy between Mercury and Saturn. Perhaps part of the trick of dealing with Mercury square with Saturn is to not feel a bit downcast if your bigger hopes are not quite coming together in the way you want. Because when Mercury and Saturn are in challenging angles, we can tend to look at the downside a little bit more than can sometimes be good for us, even if it's part of the inevitable human state. Now, on the 11th, Mercury moves into Scorpio, which is great news for you. I feel that if you do need to interact with others, you need to collaborate in any way, this is going to be really helpful for you. But Venus is challenged from the 9th through to the 20th by all those planets in your sign in the guise of Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto. Now, of course, Venus is very much about what we attract. So even if you're trying to attract something to you, somehow the politics, the celestial politics, are not quite in your favour. Don't try too hard. Be true to yourself. Don't take shortcuts. And if someone does offer you a position or a role that seems to be very exciting, just dig down carefully to check there aren't any hidden catches. You're naturally one of the shrewdest and most thorough, but most of all, wise members of the Zodiac. So you don't generally pitch into situations without a degree of thought, analysis and checking things out, doing your due diligence. And you certainly need to do that, but particularly around any kind of relationship, professional or personal, in this core part of the month. But concurrent to that, we do have that glorious alliance between Jupiter and the Sun, which is all about being very much more optimistic and go-getting. Jupiter's not at its best in your sign. I think you've heard me say this before. Every 12 years, it tends to have a bit of an impact on the stock market, which your sign is very closely associated with. It's to do with traditional industry and traditional business, Capricorn. But I do feel that Jupiter linking to the Sun can give you a way forwards. It has been such a tough year, but I feel that you'll start to see your way through all this. And that experience that you often bring to situations, if allied to a more go-getting attitude, that's not to say you don't normally have that, but just if you dust yourself down from any limitations that have been so manifest over the last few months, particularly with Mars's clash with Saturn and Pluto, which has been going on non-stop since the end of July. Well, Mars goes direct on the 14th of this month, so the second retrograde to turn around. So that's very welcome. And then on the 15th, we have that fantastic a new moon. This new moon can really fortify your hopes for the future. It gives you an opportunity to find that there is goodness in person kind, because Neptune's also in the mix as well. And I think some conversations you have could be uplifting and surprising, even if some people have disappointed you earlier in the month. And it's a new moon that's going to go through to the middle of December. So ride that energy. It's a sociable energy. And even if our ability to connect physically with others is being squeezed a little bit, if in your particular locality you can get together in a hale and hearty way with friends to have some kind of festive gathering, then do so, because I do feel it would be such a tonic for you. Now on the 21st, Venus moves into a dazzling area, your 11th house, and there could be someone in your circle in the following 28 days who takes more than a shine to you. Don't dismiss this. You know, whatever your current circumstances, getting to know someone slowly but surely as a friend is actually a very stable way to form a new relationship. Then again, if you're in a relationship, because the Sun moves on the 21st into Sagittarius, that's your sector of reflection. So I think it's important to remember in an existing tie to celebrate the things you have in common, as well as be conscious of and working on the things that are not quite so sweet. Certainly the Sun moving into Sagittarius, this is the sign of philosophy, of growth, of travel, higher education. And if you've got an interest in personal development or any spiritual dimension, this can be a time of great growth and excitement for you. You may read a self-help book that really switches on your enthusiasm, or perhaps you're linked to someone who can be a spirit guide who can be awesomely helpful to you. Now, Neptune's been going retrograde since the 23rd of June. So anything to do with everyday communications has possibly been a bit hazy. That's going to clear now. And then on the 30th, we have a annular lunar eclipse. But this is truly important because over the last 3 years, all the eclipse series have been in either your sign or Cancer. So we now have a revision to an eclipse series that began in 1984 on the 30th of May in the sign of Gemini, a solar eclipse. This is a lunar eclipse. But of course, we've got the North Node, that notional point, which is like a pull, a gravitational pull for us all. And in your case, in the sign of Gemini, this is very much about the practicalities of your existence. So there may be something that needs to just be realigned between your physical world, which is where the moon in Gemini is, and the more emotional, spiritual and philosophical world where the sun is. If you feel a little bit tired as this month draws to a close or out of sorts and you have any ailments, don't only see them in the physical plane. Might there be a driver that's more emotionally rooted? Even if you're someone who can be quite shy sometimes about looking at more sensitive, vulnerable sides of your nature, I actually feel that if you embrace this, this is going to be something that's going to grow for you over the next couple of years. You're going to grow as an emotional being in a massive way. And I think just living in the material state, which of course many of us do for a lot of the time, and it's important. We have to keep a roof over our heads, have to get the shopping done. We have to be punctual and efficient in whatever we're doing. But I feel that you're going to be craving more from here on in. And this is going to be a trend that's going to become so much greater as this year comes to a close. But I've given you a little bit of a hint there, but I'll tell you more in December's forecast. But for now, Capricorn, please stay safe, take care, good luck, and goodbye.